Oh, welcome to Long Play Video, where we're running down my favorite 100 films of all time. Structure of the show is that we're going to talk a little bit about each film as an introduction and a little bit of the background, maybe where we saw it for the first time. And then we'll go and watch the film and come back with our thoughts, having either rewatched it or seen it for the first time. If you want to play along at home, you'll hear a little bit of time travel going on, and that's your notice to stop the pod, go and watch the film. We'll try and avoid spoilers as much as possible in the first half, but in the second half, open season, we'll talk about the entire film. So yeah, that's the structure that we're going with. We'll get a theme tune fairly at some stage, right? And start the production value.
I'm presuming, and this will be one that you will sing. Otherwise, it will be you would make it up with your lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get a dance routine as well, because what's a song without a dance routine if we're talking the 80s?
That is true. We would need like a fully choreographed scene, probably some leg warmers as well.
I know that you're wearing yours, so that's
I mean, yeah, it's Australia's still in the 80s, so people just have this as fashion.
It's basically why you moved there, just you wanted to in the 80s.
Yes. I was like, these guys have just got to the 80s now in 2020, 2015. This is perfect.
Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's we'll kick on. Do we?
Yeah.
I guess we do a welcome to the one listener of the podcast.
Yes.
to Long Play Video, where we'll be going through my top 100 movies and maybe educating you a little bit by watching some of the movies. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I guess you would hope there'll be some kind of form of education going on. Whether it's watch, whether it's reality, we'll never know.
It'll be interesting to see. But we start with a film that you've never seen, so that's always good.
Yeah. It's a huge opener. Let's start off with a bang out and go. Yep, half of the participants haven't even seen the film.
It just means
only remembers bad things about it, thinking I never wanted to see this film, but yet now I will have to see it.
I mean, it's been a few years. You should be able to recover from it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when was it? When was it launched? When did it come
out? So yeah, the film, which we should say is The Artist, at number 100 in my top favorite list, and it came out in the winter of 2011, just in time to be Oscar bait, which obviously proved quite well to be. So
these seem like that classic sort of thing. It's almost like now, like some of the films you think, are they actually deliberately made just to try and win an Oscar? Like, did they start making it with sound and then went, how about if we just remove all the sounds and then we've got a guaranteed Oscar?
Well, funnily enough, they did record it with sound, and they did record it in color as well. Funnily enough, and then they took out the sound, and then they took out the color as well. So maybe that was their idea.
Yes, 100%. They were like, turns out this film is rubbish. What are we going to do? Well, we've got to make it Oscar worthy somehow. Oh, take the color out. It's not enough. It's not enough. Okay, get rid of the sound. Genius. Absolutely genius. No one will ever expect that it's actually a terrible film.
I mean, I think as a French film, I'm not sure that they're pandering to the Academy quite so much as maybe some other studios. But
so, do you think it was more the editing team were just like, we're just not doing that. It's too much. It's terrible. So you're just gonna have to. It's gonna be easier to remove all the color and all of the sound.
Or just have a dark screen. We'll just have a blank screen for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It will be a trippy existentialist. It'll be actually quite French in that way. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly. Yeah, we'll put on some lovely food, and they're just going to sit there and watch the screen for 30 minutes and think about how amazing it is.
Well, I mean, it's obviously remembered almost as a little bit of a bad Oscar winner, which obviously there are many. But then I was interested. Did you see the other nominees for Best Picture for that day for that year? So it was nestled in with The Descendants, George Clooney. You seen that one? Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, Midnight in Paris, Moneyball, which also features on the list, funnily enough, a lot lower than 100, so maybe that says something. The Tree of Life,
Yeah.
classic,
Yeah.
the classic Tree of Life, and War Horse.
Oh wow. Blimey. So actually quite an eclectic mix of different type and styles of film. So actually very
Yes,
different than a normal just, oh, these are just standard Hollywood blockbusters. The musical, some stuff is a little bit different. Moneyball. Yeah, Moneyball's a great film. What was the second one you said? One more time.
Descendants,
Yeah, what was after that?
extremely loud and incredibly close.
Oh, and then The Help you said. Yeah, I'm
And then the
The
help,
Help
yeah.
is winning it. Wow.
Although
There you
I'm not
go.
sure that there's a nailed on winner in there.
No,
Uh,
I think
the
that
Tree of
stands out.
Life, yeah, the Tree of Life is a yeah, it's a pet favorite of mine because it's just such an unwatchable movie. And I went to see it at the cinema,
Brilliant.
and the
Yeah.
person who was punching the ticket was like, "Oh yeah, I want to go and see Tree of Life," and we are like, "Okay, yeah, yeah." And he said, "Yeah, yeah, it's a dinosaur movie, isn't it?" And I was just like, "If you've seen Tree of Life, I'm not sure you can describe it as a
Yeah.
dinosaur movie."
Brilliant.
Uh,
He's going in telling everyone the review. Well, enjoy your dinosaur movie. You might have to explain what punching your ticket is. This is you're talking to a new audience now. Like, what do you mean?
yeah, if you do it on your phone now and they punch it,
Yeah,
they punch a
exactly.
hole
Yeah.
in your phone, it's just not going
It's
to
a
work.
while.
But within that,
Wow.
you do have obviously Warhorse with Steven Spielberg,
Yeah.
Midnight in Paris was Woody Allen, and
Brilliant.
Hugo was Martin Scorsese. So you do have some big hitters in
Big
there.
directors. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
War Horse as well. That I remember my mum was a huge fan of War Horse. I remember she watched it and she said it was great. And that's yeah, I mean that is almost getting into that same sort of side for Oscars, isn't it? As well, like oh, it's something a little bit different. It's going to be quite a bit of music, and there's all this other stuff going on. Um, I mean, I guess it must have won Oscars for costumes and things like that, but obviously not best film. Yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
need
yeah.
no dialogue and no color to be pulling that out of the bag.
Well, funnily, that's funny. You should say that, but actually, best costume design went to the artist, and
No.
Warhorse wasn't even nominated. I don't think they were
What?
doing the puppets. I think that's the thing. It's just a film with the main character
Yeah.
from the Lloyd's adverts,
Oh
who just hasn't gone on and done anything, never as much as possible.
no. What? Yeah, I'm thinking of someone else. I was thinking of someone else. It can't be that guy.
And then on the list of top grossing for the year, it's
Yeah.
nestled at 62 out
Yeah.
out of the year, in
Jesus.
between Unknown, which obviously
Yeah.
is another Liam Neeson. He doesn't know what's
Yeah.
going on, but he's going to kill lots of people, and the Three Musketeers, another Three Musketeers, which yeah
Wow.
didn't really do
Yeah.
that well, on 133 million. But then, 133 million cost 15 million to make. Obviously, would have got a bump
Yeah.
because of the Oscars, but not a bad return on 15 million.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Plenty good. It's at that right sort of level as well to almost win the Oscars. It's like if you're the best film of the or the most grossing film of the year, you're like, nah, you can't win any. You can't win Best Picture. You can maybe win like Best CGI or Best Cinematography, but you're not winning Best Picture if you're number one.
yeah. Well, what do you know? Do you know what was number one? 2011 top grossing movie.
2011.
Take yourself back.
What sort of genre is it? Or
Uh,
give me one of the actors.
well, the actors will give it away completely. It made over a billion, and it is a
Oh, it was
sequel.
yeah. Is it one of the Lord of the Rings or something like that?
It's a bit later. It's Harry Potter and
Harry
Deathly
Potter.
Hallows
Yeah.
Part Two. So the top 10, which is just a classic top 10 from the
Yeah.
early 2010s. Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows
Yeah.
Part Two. Obviously, this is when
Got a real
even
gift.
sequels had sequels, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon, Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides, Twilight
Brilliant.
Saga, Breaking Dawn Part One, another sequel with a sequel.
Wow.
Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Kung Fu
Yeah.
Panda number two, Fast Five, Hangover Part Two, Smurfs, and Cars Two. So out of the top 10 grossing, Smurfs was the only non-sequel, which I don't think says great things about humanity, if I'm
Yeah.
honest.
That's
Um,
really interesting because I feel like now, especially in the we're just coming out of a post Marvel world, I feel like everyone kind of thought, yeah, Marvel kind of really were the ones that pushed us into sequel territory and into this continual story scenario. So, but obviously no, I'm surprised that there was such a limited original thought in that year already there. Maybe that's why something like The Artist wins. You know, maybe they're trying to educate us a bit more, the Academy, and say, well, can we try and see if we can not get as many sequels and something other than Smurfs, maybe?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because actually, and not to give you any spoilers, but the film is about going from silent movies into in like a
Yeah,
new form of movies, right? With
yeah,
sound, and it does feel like, I don't know, in retrospect, or maybe they're very clever, but it does sort of feel like it's a bit of a comment of going from one place to another in
yeah,
the way that the films are made and the types of films that you get, right? So
yeah,
I mean, interestingly, again for the year, actually outside of the top 10, you had Thor and you had Captain America: The First Avenger, both that sort of
yeah,
did okay, but under half a billion. And then you
yeah,
had
yeah,
X-Men as well, and then the classic Green Lantern with
yeah.
Ryan Reynolds. I think
Oh,
one of your favorite movies
yeah,
all
of course.
time.
I
I
think
think so.
also one of his favorite movies as well.
Yeah. Who would have known that he could recover from
Yeah,
that and buy a football team and do a documentary?
exactly. Yeah, I can't believe the current manager of Wrexham used to be in a terrible film. Yeah,
So I think it's interesting. The Marvel were around, but they weren't hitting tens. I mean, the first Thor movie is okay, did bit better than the
yeah,
first Captain America, but the first Captain
yeah,
America movie is also the best Captain America movie, realistically. Like,
yeah. Which
obviously,
basically says nothing because Captain America is terrible. He's the worst.
yeah.
He's worse other than Hawkeye. He's definitely the worst Avenger.
And Hawkeye doesn't get his own movie, so it's
No,
fine.
no, he doesn't at all. He doesn't even get. He did get a TV series. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, he gets 8 hours
Yeah,
of content rather than two.
I was getting excited for a second there when you said, "Oh, interesting, no spoilers." I thought, "Oh, are there actually Smurfs in this? This can be great." Yeah,
There's
but
some
no,
cross IP.
yeah. I was like, "How am I going to spot them in black and white? It's going to be really difficult."
So yeah, I mean, for me, and why I
Yeah,
put it in my top 100. I mean, first of all, it is number 100. So I do think that
yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of tells you something. I would say when I was doing the list,
yeah,
like the first 40 films were super easy, and then
yeah, yeah,
and then you
yeah,
sort of you're reaching a little bit for the next 40, and then actually the
yeah,
last sort of 10 get really difficult because there's a lot of films that are kind of at this level and that like I remember fondly. And
yeah,
so it was sort of fighting against BMX Bandits, some classics, some
yeah,
classic movies from the 80s. You just sort of think like let's just put it in there at 100 because it is something a bit different. And yeah, it just sort of
yeah.
it's fighting a lot to just get it in under the line, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that actually, just because I guess we probably should talk a bit about the list as well. So, you obviously, like you said, it is challenging to actually pull it out 100. Obviously, the top 40 just probably come off the top of your head and you've got them. But then after that, what would you do after that? Did you look at, oh, what was the top 10 in this year? Or were you like going back? Because that's some of the things as well. It's not necessarily all the films, it's the memories as well, right? You might have remembered when you went to see the artist, oh, actually, it was a really good day or whatever. And something good happens. It's then actually the attachment that we have with the actual movie itself as well. It's not just the content; it was like the whole experience of that day or whatever, or where you were in your life.
Yeah, no, for sure. And funnily enough, with the artist as well, because it wasn't on the list, but I went back through sort of on my blog like an old rating
Yeah,
system that I used to kind of keep up whenever I watched a movie. And I'd
yeah,
given it a really good score, and I do sort of remember watching it, especially I think at the time as well, because with the Shreks and with kind of a lot of things, there was a lot of films that were quite cynical and almost sort of meta
mm-hmm.
and a bit of a nod to sort of and a wink and stuff. And actually, I found the artist just really refreshing because it was just kind of itself. And I remember sort of thinking actually like in a way it tells the story sort of and shows that you can tell a really good story without sound or without kind of any of the gimmicks and just kind of
yeah,
be quite true to itself.
yeah,
So I thought that I'd given it a 10. I went back and checked this yesterday and actually only gave it an 8, which is a
there you
ringing
go.
endorsement.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's
and
still
then
good.
Yeah, and then I found out, yeah, I actually did the search because I couldn't remember because obviously we were kind of working together at this stage, although I think I just left. So I
Yeah.
wondered why you didn't come to see the movie
Yeah.
with me.
I was going to say, I think we requested that you left after after we found out you'd watched it.
Well, no, so funnily enough, I looked it up and actually I saw this film in New York just before Christmas. As we
Oh, there
were
you
we were
go.
in Yeah, we were in New York. We went to see it on a Thursday. Thought it was really good, and then actually went to see Sherlock Holmes 2 and the
Yeah.
Mission Impossible as a double header at the weekend. So it was
Oh,
definitely
wow.
of that time where what I loved going to the US, especially because I could watch films before they'd come out in the UK, and I do love watching movies before anyone else has watched them. It's just something that speaks
Yeah.
to speaks to my soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just before Christmas. I think yeah, we had just stopped working together. I just
Yeah.
left Amazon because I was going on somewhere
Yeah.
somewhere else.
That would
So
have been a great atmosphere, right? You're in New York, it's the Christmas, great place to be around Christmas. And it's also that same sort of feeling, right? Like it's a bit colder there. So I kind of feel like you're like it sort of links in with that sort of like I don't know, I always feel like when I think of black and white movies, I just always for some reason just picture told people queuing up in the streets to go there for some reason. And so I feel like this film links into that perfectly, where everyone's like, yeah, well, it's cold, it's Christmas, let's go and watch something, a bit different. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that memory must have been amazing, right? You're in New York, you'd be in such a good, like, plane of life and that and stuff. So that's why I feel, unfortunately, is somehow snuck into the top 100. I'm putting this down based on memory, not on quality.
I mean, yeah, it's funny because obviously, like that was the first time I watched it. The last time that I watched it was that day in New York. I have not seen it since. I don't own it on
Oh, there you
DVD,
go.
which is
Yeah,
rare. For most of the top 100, I do own on DVD, even some of the
yeah,
streaming ones that I've kind of managed to get on DVD. So it is yeah, I would say it is a bit of a punt to put it into the top 100, not having
yeah,
seen it for 12 years now.
yeah,
And so, when we're sort of thinking about, yeah, what are we looking forward to or not looking forward
yeah,
to about the rewatch? To be honest, I just hope it stands up at all. Otherwise, the other
yeah.
half of
You
the
just get
podcast can be
through it.
very short. We're just going to be like, well, that was
Yeah.
rubbish, and I'll be like, yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no
Well,
point.
yeah. This might be the interesting thing. Although the podcast is called Long Play, where you could effectively double the length of videos, this might be getting played on double play, so that we can get through it quicker. Thank you, technology.
I mean, it won't even sound quick from the people talking, so
Yeah,
you'll be
exactly.
fine.
It will make no impact. Yeah, they'll just move around a bit quicker. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's interesting. You're right that you haven't seen it, yeah, since you first saw it. I will be interested to hear what you think about it once you watch it again, and
Yeah,
like whether it is invokes the same sort of feeling, or whether it's actually it's like when they say when people say you don't meet your heroes, it's like you've got this great memory of this film. If you watch it again, are you going to go, oh my god, I hate this. This isn't even made my top 500 now. Let's bin this. I don't want it on there.
well, I do think I hope it does stand up. There are a couple of scenes
Yeah,
that really do sort of stand out in my memory. There's the first
yeah,
time that kind of the main couple kind of meet on the film set. I remember just being
yeah,
a really good scene. And then actually
yeah,
there's kind of a fight between him and his wife. No spoilers. But yeah, I remember that was sort of a really powerful scene as well. So yeah, I'm hoping it's not that long, so I'm hoping that it sort of just sneaks in. and
yeah,
and the fact that it was a silent movie, I like a lot of silent movies, like Buster Keaton and Charlie
yeah,
Chaplin and stuff. But I didn't think I liked any of them enough because they are much shorter. They are
yeah,
like half an hour,
yeah,
45 minutes usually.
yeah, exactly.
And so if you sort of read any of the reviews on this, everyone does kind of say, well, it should have been a short, or it doesn't need to be as long. But I think there's a bit of
Yeah,
the fact that it's a silent movie kind of plays into that because they were shorter. And I didn't think there was any silent movie that I could honestly put into my top 100 favorite movies. Obviously, there are
yeah,
ones that are like, yeah, that are the best. I really appreciate The General as far as kind of, yeah, the
yeah,
sight gags and stuff are
yeah,
concerned. But even I'm not pretentious enough to have a
yeah.
silent movie in the top
I'd
100 of
say that.
like my best favorite like movies that I would just
Yeah,
put on and watch on a rainy Saturday afternoon. So
yeah. No, I do think you're right. I'm actually quite looking forward to watching it, and I think the current like scenario in the current world, so obviously as we're dating this 1st of August 2023, I think yeah, and obviously this post COVID, or I should say now post original COVID. Who knows when people watch this again? It might
first
be
COVID,
post COVID 107 or something.
we don't want to
But
date ourselves.
yeah, but I think yeah, it's like I was saying. I think in the lead up to COVID, we really had that intense Marvel scenario where there were so many Marvel films, and you kind of were just on the Marvel like hamster wheel, where you're just like, yeah, great, let's hit the next one. And then COVID obviously happened. We all sort of woke up and went, why are we just watching superhero movies all the time? And so I think it's been refreshing to have some stuff come out that's a little bit different. And I'm actually looking forward to watching this and seeing, in a new mindset where, maybe you're a bit more open to things, me personally, and chilled. Like, will this film stack up? So I'm actually looking forward to it. I think I'm definitely more inclined to look forward to it and watch it now than when it came out, for sure.
Brilliant. Well, I just want to end it there, and we're going to cut to after you've watched it and your one word reaction. I think will
Yeah,
just be awesome. So we'll cut it and we'll come back and we'll see what you thought.
yeah, brilliant. And it'll just be like terrible.
Okay, we'll see. We'll get put the DVD in, put the video in,
Yeah,
grab your favorite spot on the sofa, and we'll see what
yeah,
happens.
yeah. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Surprisingly good. So
Nice.
two
Well,
words, not one, but yeah, I was very surprised at actually how enjoyable it was. I was like, it was completely different to what I thought as well. I think in my mind, I thought there was just nothing, like it was just people moving around with no sound or anything. So I was like, oh, there's actually music here. And I was like, oh, actually, yeah, you forget how much of an important part music is in films. And then obviously it's got a written word, but no spoken word, which I didn't know either. So I was like, oh, actually, so there is a bit of a story here. It's not just people wandering around the screen in black and white and then it ends. So yeah, I thought,
which doesn't sound like a very good film. People
well,
wandering around.
exactly. Yeah.
That'd be a tough pitch
Yeah.
for even the
Yeah.
greatest of producers.
Yeah. Well, that was what I thought. I was like, why do people like this film? It's a terrible idea. But yeah, that it was good. There were some really good things in there. Yeah, I've got some notes and stuff we could talk through. But probably my overriding thought of the entire film throughout was how much better would Andy look with a pencil moustache? And I was just like, this is
You know,
something that you should bring back, I think.
you know what? I had a visceral memory while I was watching it. You know, the part
Yeah.
where it's him and her, and he says, "Well, you need something that no one else has," and he gets the pencil and he puts the beauty mark on her.
Yeah, yeah.
I remembered, and I also remembered the first time I watched it that I thought he was going to draw on a pencil moustache on her.
Yes, I thought the same. I thought, why is he? How is this going to work? Is this just going to be funny? Yeah, and then the reality is, wow, his isn't actually a real moustache. It's also a drawn-on pencil moustache. Uh, but yeah,
uh,
very funny.
well, that's great, and yeah, on my second watching, although it's one of my favorite films.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I thought it really stood up actually. I was
yeah,
pleasantly surprised at how good it was. I think there's always like every 10 minutes there's like a shot or there's something that is kind of is clever or like yeah, sort of
yeah,
I sort of found myself just appreciating like the when he's walking out of the studio and bumps into her, like the wide shot of the all the stairs and stuff, I thought were really good. There's the
yeah,
bit where he's in the mirrored table, and then they kind of flip it the other way around. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I
That was
think
good.
the use of like "bang" as the title card at the end, like
Yeah,
I think it's really good.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I was surprised. I think there was some things in there, and it made me realize because I've probably not seen many of these sort of films. So you actually realize there's slightly different pieces that you have to work together. So as an actor, they have to have slightly more over exaggerated facial expressions because you're kind of compensating and trying to show emotion to people without words. So that was one thing I noticed. And also that the scenes are generally a bit shorter. They're a bit snappier. You sort of move in and then you travel onto a new one, because I guess you can't really hang around for too long, because you're just sort of like, oh, yeah, okay, so everyone's still just sort of standing here, not really doing anything. Okay, cool. So, yeah, that was two things I really noticed. I also, I found it, even though I was deliberately trying to just watch it by itself. And I thought, well, this is an old school film. I might take notes old school as well, like on a piece of paper. But then I thought about all the people that are going to die in the apocalyptic climate change, and thought, no, I'll do them electronic notes.
They won't be able to charge, so
Yeah,
these notes will be lost to all mankind. But
yeah. But yeah, that's very true. Yeah, there'll be no electricity available. But yeah, I did think it was quite hard to double screen, which was an interesting thing. You couldn't really, because obviously you really have to pay attention to what's actually
yeah,
visually happening. You couldn't, like a lot of other things, you can just sit there and you can hear it. So you can't actually, you can, get on your phone or your laptop. Whereas this, you couldn't really double screen. And that actually was quite nice. I was like, wow, it's been a while, other than at the cinema, where I've really just sat down and just watched a film at home. It was a different experience, I must admit.
yeah, no, it was super interesting. Even when I'm watching films, and especially sort of non-English films where you're having the subtitles and stuff like that, you do really notice the fact that you can't be doing other stuff. You do have to concentrate
Yeah,
on the film, which is I mean that's almost why I still like going to the cinema, because I would never get my phone out in the cinema,
yeah,
and there's always the temptation when you're at home to be doing other stuff. So when it's
yeah,
like this, or when it's a non-English film, you've got the subtitles, I really notice that I'm having to engage with the film so much more, which
yeah,
I do like.
yeah. There were some other little bits and pieces that I liked in it as well. Like I liked that he's basically the only person in the world that has a dog. Like, as he walks around everywhere, no one else has a dog, and he's got the best dog as well.
Yeah, which you're
Although
allowed to take into cinemas. I'm not sure whether that's
yeah,
you're allowed to take dogs into cinemas. I'm not sure whether
yeah.
that's allowed.
And then I love it that the woman, as he's leaving, says, "Oh, sorry, can I just stop you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're going to try and get an autograph of me." And he's like, "No, can I just pat your dog, because you own the only dog in the universe? So I want to just make sure that I can pat this." So yeah, that was quite funny.
Well,
But yeah,
there is no talk over explaining that. So maybe she was like, "What's
no,
this strange animal
yeah,
that you have?" Because in the world of the artist, that is literally the
yeah.
only dog there has ever been.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so no one else knows what's going on. They're like, "What is this? Can someone please explain to me? And is it so intelligent he can sit here and watch movies?" Dear, yeah, it was quite funny. But yeah, I thought there
Yeah.
was some good bits as well. Like I was like, is this? It's almost like I was thinking, is this like art imitating life? Where I was thinking, it's very there's a lot of white male men that are the key sort of leads, and he obviously the key lead him. He's obviously struggling with the shift of, obviously moving to dialogue, but also you've got like his main competitor is obviously then this woman. And I was like, oh, it's an interesting like point that's quite poignant now, is that,
Mm.
yeah, him struggling with the concept of, sharing the screen, rather than just, sitting down and saying, well, I was here first, so I should have this. So yeah, I thought that was, I don't know if they were deliberately getting to that, but I thought I took that away from it as well.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. I mean, the tears of love versus beauty spot at the cinema inside the film, very Oppenheimer versus Barbie in some ways. So
Yeah, well, exactly.
very
Yeah,
topical there. But
yeah,
yeah, no, I think it's interesting because I think on this watch, what came out much more for me was kind of his inability to talk and communicate. I do think
mm,
there's definitely sort of men finding it difficult to actually talk, and he would rather, sort of
mm,
burn himself down rather than talk to someone. He would,
yeah,
the film begins right with that card, which is "I won't talk." So
yeah,
they're really kind of ramming it down down your throat in some
yeah,
ways, and the fact that he won't talk to his wife at all, that was a shorter scene that
yeah,
I remember, but was a pretty cold scene where
yeah,
he's, it's kind of, it's just like, okay, I'm not even going to talk to you. Like this is just done. So I did think
Yeah,
that there was a lot of men's inability to communicate, and the what that means
yeah.
for them, and they're not being able to go further in the world, I think is an interesting one.
Yeah, yeah. I did like, and as you said about that the breakfast seeds, I did think that was quite funny. I was like, God, I forgot. You remember in movies where they always just used to eat fruit and just drink fruit juice, and that was what they had for breakfast every single day. I was like, they're getting so much vitamin C, it's unbelievable, but no actual substantial protein or anything useful for their body. I was like, wow, those are the days you could just eat fruit for breakfast and be happy with life.
I mean, Morecambe and Wise would be doing like high protein shake now in the
Yeah,
breakfast
yeah.
scene. So
Yeah, exactly. Probably doing a little ad workout at the start or something for some kind of new like I don't know abs abductor or something.
for sure.
Yeah.
Any plot holes that you noticed on the first time around?
Don't think there was anything in terms of sort of plot holes. Obviously, like the storyline's pretty basic, right? It's not too complex. It's his pride gets in the way. There's some changes from obviously no voice to voice, and
I was going to say just the only one that I noticed was at the very beginning with the first film. He's doing radio interviews
oh yeah,
outside the theater, so people know what he sounds like.
yeah,
So I'm not really
yeah,
sure why him doing radio interviews and then not wanting to speak on in the actual film. It's not like people don't know that he's French, or that that he sounds the
yeah,
way that he sounds. So
yeah. I guess that's a good point. I didn't really pick that up. That's quite interesting because I this was my first time watching it. There were other
mm.
things that I noticed, so there's stuff like that where I sort of missed them because they just slipped through. I was like, oh, who's this person that you just randomly met? So yeah, that's interesting. You'd have picked up more of those things. I did think
Yeah.
it was funny how it's just that very Mad Men era that it's like, oh, it doesn't matter what time of day it is, you're just going to go and get a whiskey and have a cigar. It was just like that was like at all times just drink. And then one other thing I thought was quite amusing, I thought that I had was that even when George was slumming it and like he was like bankrupt and like things were going terribly, his apartment was still bigger than my current apartment.
And he has a butler, even
Yeah,
even when
yeah,
he's completely destitute, has no money to his name. He's still keeping a butler. He's just not paying him. I mean, I think
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah,
Poor old
yeah,
Clifton. I mean, I do like the cinematic universe, the fact that it ties in that Clifton then leaves his employ, goes to the
yeah.
countryside, starts a farm, and then has a pig who can act as a sheepdog. So I think that was that
Yeah,
works.
yeah, exactly. That was a nice little full-on showbiz, completing the circle, right? Yeah,
So one
nice.
thing that I also found really jarring was the fact that Malcolm McDowell's just
Yeah,
sitting around and is in the film for maybe like 30 seconds. And
yeah,
obviously he's quite a big actor. So I was trying to find like the amount of Google searches. Why is Malcolm McDowell in The
yeah,
Artist? I couldn't find any. There's lots of him talking about being in it and stuff. I'm not sure if there was a whole other plot. He's listed in the list of credits as the butler. So maybe that again
yeah.
there was going to be like a sequel, which was like he goes on a rampage or something. It's Malcolm McDowell is the butler. But
Yeah,
yeah, for such a sort of well-known face, especially,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
just for
yeah,
seeing him sat there, and then Pepe has a quick chat with him, and then she
yeah,
goes in, and then that's that. Which I would also say, I mean, on the interviewing for the three dancing girls in that bit,
yeah,
where the guy's like, I need three girls who can dance, and
yeah,
two of the girls start dancing and get selected, and the
yeah,
rest of the girls, no one thinks, oh, maybe as he asked for
yeah,
dancing girls, maybe I should dance as well. They just sort
yeah.
of
Maybe.
stand there just trying to get through. No, I'm not going to dirty myself. I'm not going to dance. You need to
No,
know that
no.
I can dance, and then
Yeah,
we'll go
I'm
from
not
there.
a performing monkey. I will not dance for you. But yeah, that was quite funny, wasn't it? Obviously, they were sort of setting it up, and you're sort of like, yeah, because you're sort of kind of first of all, you're thinking, go on, you're gonna have to dance, otherwise you're not gonna get picked. But then you obviously sort of work out, hold on a minute, this film's designed that she definitely gets picked. But yeah, there were some nice little scenes. Like I like the scene where she's practicing the dance moves behind the screen, and then he's sort of replicating them, and then they're both replicating them together, and then they see each other, and I was like, oh, that was quite a nice little scene, like a little bit of added, comedy and stuff to the scene. So that was quite good. But
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I
again, the
think
use of the sound when he puts the
yeah,
glass down and you hear a sound
yeah,
for the first time. I remember in the
yeah.
cinema as well, like, yeah, there were people who kind of, yeah, almost jumped at
Oh,
that
really?
point. Yeah, it is a really, yeah, just a great scene out of sort of nowhere to show that, yeah, the impact that having sound does
Yeah,
have on everything.
yeah.
And
He is
then
so big. I think, and as well, that was one of the things I was watching, because obviously it opens up at the start when they're all watching his film, and then he comes out on stage, and there's actually a live orchestra there. And I was just thinking, how good would that be? Every time we went to the cinema, there was a live orchestra just playing. Because you're right, it makes such a big impact, doesn't it? The music, and obviously in a film like this, you really notice the impact. But yeah, I was like, that would be so good. Live orchestras everywhere. I'm sure it'd be easy to manufacture and do, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money, and it would be fine.
and the main actor coming out after the film to sort of thank the audience. I think he was definitely the Tom Cruise of his day. I think, yeah, I can
Yeah,
imagine that Tom Cruise does that. Just travels around cinemas at the end of Mission Impossible. He comes out, everyone's left,
yeah.
but he
Oh,
still
that
comes out and waves and
mad.
signs autographs.
Yeah. I just saw that recently and I had to leave early. God, I probably missed him waving at
You
me.
missed Tom Cruise.
Damn it.
He
God.
came out to thank you with his dog.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was my biggest nitpick of the whole film. I was like, time moves past and the dog doesn't age. And I was like, what's going on here? But no, yeah, that was quite the dog was really good. Like obviously it's a well-trained dog, but it did add an extra dimension to it. I think that really helped.
I, I
You know,
think that
it,
the third top billed actor on when I was reading the credits, I think the dog was actually the third on the
yeah.
list. So that's
Yeah,
not
it
bad.
must be. Yeah, I would imagine the dog would have been in probably the third most of the movie, right? It's in the movie most of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I think that there was a lot more. Funnily enough, I just watched Sunset Boulevard, which is sort of
yeah,
the classic film about kind of this topic,
yeah.
where a fading film star from the silent movies tries to kind of get back in and kidnap someone. It's where um,
Okay,
yeah, you'd sort of recognize a lot of the shots and stuff in it. So yeah, there was definitely sort of a few more shots from that, and kind of the influence there, as well as the first shot is from Metropolis, which is like the sort of one of the first sort of, yeah, full length movies with the robot and the electricity going into it. You've probably seen it on yeah, on kind of references as well, which I watched
mm,
as part of my 50 movies a couple of years ago. So yeah, I think
yeah,
they have kind of borrowed quite a lot from other films around the time, but also kind of after, which is good. I think they sort of blended all into together, so that again,
yeah,
it's not. I think they keep it quite tight, and I think that's what's sort of nice about like an hour and a half. You do kind of have these
yeah,
scenes, then you move on to the next one, then you move on to the next one.
yeah, yeah. I did think, like, I know, I remember when we discussed it, we were saying it was going to be an hour and 40 minutes, and did think, oh, that could be a bit long. And I think, yeah, generally it was fine. I didn't really feel like there was many times when I was like, oh, how long has already left? How long is left? How long has gone? There was a couple of moments where I thought they dragged the scenes out a little bit, but on the whole, I thought, yeah, it wasn't, that was about the right sort of length. I don't think, to get that story across in that medium without any spoken word, you probably do need, that sort of time to provide a bit of depth to the characters and why they feel a certain way and why they're each taking their different journey. So I think, yeah, you need at least that runtime, I would have said.
Yeah, I think, yeah, kind of going back and having like the burning all of his films and stuff. Yeah, I think that was sort
Mm,
of, yeah, that was the only bit where you kind of, you get that he's down on his luck. I guess they have to get
yeah,
him to the hospital for her to then kind of take him out of the hospital. Evidently, at the time,
yeah,
if you were famous enough, you could just
yeah,
take a comatose person from the hospital and just
yeah,
take him home, and
yeah.
no one batted an eyelid.
Yeah, and then there's a point when he's basically in her bed at her house, basically unconscious, and she's just creepily just touching him, stroking his face. And I was like, is this allowed? Should this be happening? Yeah, a bit
Well,
bizarre.
I do think that the burning of the film as well is probably something that, yeah,
Mm,
for the next generation, you'd have to explain a little bit, because obviously they
yeah,
don't know what a film is. They don't know
yeah.
what it
Well,
looks like.
yeah,
So maybe in the remake, they'd have to make it, burning the Wi-Fi router or something,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
having the fumes from that, or like, putting his phone down, or so
yeah,
some sort of accident that was more
yeah,
digital.
yeah. Everyone's SIM cards gets removed and burned. It's like, yeah, yeah. It would be a bit strange. Yeah, very different.
And then the
Yeah.
other thing I wondered about was John Goodman clearly at one stage
Mm,
drops an F bomb, and I did
mm,
wonder, did people used to read the lips there? Because there seems to be a lot of the dialogue that doesn't have
yeah,
cards, and obviously back in the day they had the cards of what they would say, and they probably matched it a lot more, because I don't think they paid attention to that,
yeah,
like, on good purpose. So I think
yeah,
maybe, yeah, I wonder
yeah,
about that, whether people used to sort of just be reading the lips, or whether they would wait for the cards of dialogue back in the day, because yeah,
yeah,
he clearly, I mean, yeah, there's quite a few times where you can clearly see what he's saying.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I
there
don't
was, I
know.
must say, I noticed that as well. Like, there was a couple of things where I was starting to read the lips, thinking, oh, actually, maybe I'll just be able to do this for the whole film instead. But then, yeah, I don't, obviously they must sort of they muggle that around so that you can't actually do that. So that worked out quite well. But
They start talking
yeah,
behind their hands, which obviously is the most
yeah,
natural
yeah.
thing in the world. So
One thing I was going to ask you, because obviously for me, seeing it, this was the first time I've seen it. And so there was a much more greater impact on me than the original viewing. And I can kind of see why, even though it's in your top 100, you've only seen it once, because it's a very impactful movie the first time you see it. So yeah, I was wondering, would you, I mean, obviously I don't think you'd have the same impact the second time around, but did it still feel, when you were traveling on the train up to Leeds, watching it on your laptop, did it feel the same as the romance of Christmas in New York?
yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I genuinely think it does stand up. I mean, there were parts that I could remember, like the drawing on the moustache, and then
Yeah,
then there were parts that I hadn't remembered. But I think it moves on so well that, yeah, in actual fact, I would probably put it a little bit lower, because I really do think, yeah,
yeah,
for first time impact, but also just from an interest point of view, I think it takes a lot of the what happens in silent movies, but then does actually sort of update
mm,
them and bring in other things. I don't think it's supposed to be sort of a film that was shot in the 1940s, or the
no,
1930s. I don't think they're trying to make it accurate to a silent movie, which is why actually I think it works so well. To be honest,
mm,
um,
yeah,
and yeah, I think, yeah, it's not a film you're going to watch, every Saturday night, or
no,
you're going to watch kind of over and over again. But I do think that it stands up. It is entertaining, as I said before. It is non-cynical. That's what I really like about it.
yeah,
There's no kind of winking at the audience, or like, oh, aren't we clever? Although, a few of the shots are obviously kind of, yeah, playing around with how they
yeah,
shot it and stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, I would definitely
yeah.
think it stands up.
There was a couple of other pieces that I just remembered that I was looking at, that when he goes to the pawn shop because he's got no money, and he's like, I've got this old used suit and shoes that I can give you. Can you give me some money? And the guy's like, oh, I'll give you like £5 or something. And then he comes back with that money, and then he just gives his car to the butler. It's just like, should you just try to sell your car? Like, what are you up to?
So
Yeah,
there was no market for cars at the time, but
no.
second-hand tuxedos,
Yeah.
that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
on the rewatch as well, my favorite
Mm.
line, I think that there were two that really stood out. I thought he says at one stage, "Nobody wants to see me speak," which I do think is a
Mm.
great line, just to kind of play with the entire thing. But
Yeah.
the funniest line for me, so in his film within the film, he's
Yeah.
drowning in quicksand. He's just about to die, and then the
Yes.
line that he says is, "Farewell, Norma. I never loved you." Like,
Yes.
that is the coldest line in cinematic
Yeah.
history. You're just
Yeah.
about to die in quicksand, and you just want
Yeah.
to tell the person you're with that you don't love them.
Yeah, and she doesn't react at all. She's just sort of like, oh, something. He's obviously it's the quicksand in his brain. Like, she's not thinking like, oh, what? I'm gonna remove my hand. I'm gonna attack the dog, and we're out of it. Yeah, that was brilliant. I was like, did I misread that? Did he actually say I don't love you? Yeah, that was a good line. Yeah,
That
that
was
was
pretty
funny.
brutal. Any life lessons for you? Anything that you're going to take away with you as you move through life from here on out?
Yeah, I think the one thing I saw of as at the end was, when you're in a huge emergency, he was gone back to his and you didn't know what was going to do, and then he's going to get the gun and you think he's going to kill himself, and she's in this huge panic and she's like, I've got to get to him. Obviously, the one thing you do, because obviously you're rich and famous, you keep honking the horn for your butler rather than get in the car and drive it yourself. So in all walks of life, always honk for your butler before driving yourself.
No matter how rich or poor you are.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or how
I
much of an emergency. Yeah.
I mean, I think I just a reminder to me that at any point when you see a clown, just presume it's a dream and go with it. I don't think if at any point you see a clown walking down the street, if it's not a dream, then I think
Yeah.
you're basically in trouble anyway. So you may
Yeah.
as well just think it's a dream. But anytime you
Yeah.
see anyone dressed as a clown, just be like, you know what, this has to be a dream now. Otherwise,
Yeah.
forget about it anyway. So
Yeah. Either way, it should be a dream, because if I'm seeing clowns on the street, something's gone wrong. Yeah, yeah. What did
and
you think about the? Go on, you go.
no, go.
I was going to say, what did you think about the tap dancing at the end? A sort of this sort of compromise of like, sound, no sound type thing.
Yeah, I thought it was sort of interesting is that I didn't think it was that great.
Mm,
And I think that's kind of the point, isn't it? That like things have moved on and almost you can't if you were sort of great in the era before, you might not be
yeah,
great in the next era. And actually,
yeah,
like he's not going to be able to be the same star
no,
in the next era because things have moved on. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of the point. Oh, just one thing from the research had said that they did that take 17 times.
Okay,
The
yeah,
actors liked the 11th take and the director liked the 12th, and he
okay,
refused to tell them which one he put in the film. Although obviously he's the director, so I'd very much imagine
yeah.
it's the 12th. But
It
yeah,
was 100% the 12th.
they
Yeah,
practiced for a long time. I think it was like 5 months to get it.
yeah,
And it's good. Obviously, having
yeah,
done a
yeah.
little bit of tap when I was 6, I'm
Oh
not saying
wow,
that I can critique
yeah,
it, but yeah,
yeah,
if you compare it to sort of singing in the rain or kind of any of those, then obviously it
yeah.
doesn't stand up.
Yeah, but no, I think you're right. It was well choreographed. So this is what I wrote as my final comment of the notes, was tap dance is the compromise. Lost me at the end. Terrible ending. that was
Fair.
that was what I went with. I was like, oh, okay, he's worked himself around. He's working away from his pride, but it's like not enough though. It's like I'm still not going to talk. I'll let there be some noise, but just with my feet.
I mean, how
Oh
long is that
God.
tap dancing going to have to be an entire movie? It's going to have to be
Yeah,
like an hour and a half of them just
yeah,
dancing, or is there going to be some dialogue at some stage?
yeah. I don't know. That was weird.
I do a couple of questions.
Mm,
If you could update it with anything from today,
mm,
obviously not that long because it's a fairly recent
yeah.
movie, but I wonder, any updating with anything that you do.
So it'd still have to be set in the same era, right? But what would you
Well,
do?
I
Like the
mean,
same? Yeah.
yeah, unless you think a different era would be more interesting.
Yeah. I guess you could, as we started talking about, right? You could be it's the same concept, but a different structure. So it might be more of, say, something like a guy struggling with the concept of, like a white male struggling with the concept of other people, like say a female taking lead rather than himself. So you could do something like that. But would that work in the same no color, no dialogue? Don't know if that would work the same. I think this sort of film is difficult because it's so sort of unique and
Yeah,
really that
specific.
homage, to that older era. So I don't think personally, I'm not sure you could do too much to it,
The only
other
thing
than
that
have more dogs.
Yeah, the only thing, just have full of dogs. The only thing that I thought is the modern comparison would be an actor doesn't want to be in a superhero movie and just
Oh yeah,
refuses to be in it. Because you have George Clooney
yeah,
through pride and hubris just not wanting to be in a superhero movie or a Marvel
yeah,
movie. Obviously, he's already been Batman, but not wanting to be in a Marvel movie, and then he just can't work anymore, and he has to
yeah.
and he has to have someone kind of save him and bring him through. That was the only thing that I could think of.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That would be quite funny, wouldn't it? That would be good. I think people would like that as well in this sort of new world of where, like we said, we're moving away from sort of superheroes now, thankfully, hopefully.
Because they're all rubbish.
Uh,
Cool.
yes.
So yeah, go on to I went on to Amazon and looked at some of the reviews there. What
Yeah.
reviews have you come up with that you
Uh,
that you thought were insightful?
there was a couple of absolute beauties. This one was kept waiting for sound and color, never happened, couldn't watch it. It's like, I mean, read the actual review of the film. I mean, it specifically hasn't got sound and color. That's the unique thing about the film. So yeah, that was good. And then the other one was someone was talking, saying, "Oh, there's lessons that you learn is about integrity. Know what you know what you're good at. Pride. Don't let your pride get in the way, and accept help." And then someone summed that up and said, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, these lessons could also apply to boogie nights." So,
If you like
so
this, then you
yeah,
also like that, clearly.
yeah. So yeah, same life lessons you learn in The Artist as in Boogie Nights. So that's not on the 100, sadly. So we won't be able to review and compare that. But
It's a
no,
sad one
yeah,
to miss out. Yeah,
yeah,
the ones that I saw on Amazon, yeah, one was no dialogue, so difficult to sit through. One
yeah,
star.
yeah. Hilarious. I
Yeah.
mean, what are you thinking?
And
Yeah,
then one was entitled High Hopes but Disappointed, 1 star. The lead
yeah.
male and female had great chemistry and their performances suited the stylization, but the story and the reason for making a film like this let it down. And they've thought
Strange.
about the reason for making the film, and
Hmm.
they feel like that let
Yeah.
down the entire thing. I'm not sure. I just
So,
read that being
yeah,
like,
yeah. That feels like someone's just writing a review to write a review. They were like, "Oh, I'm a what is it, a verified Amazon reviewer, so I have to write a certain number of reviews a
yeah.
week. So I'm just going to add this one in and just see what happens." Yeah,
Well, I even loved some of the 5 star. I mean, it's not just the people who are having a go.
yeah,
The 5 stars, astonishing, wonderfully filmed, beautifully acted, moving, and
yeah,
even funny. I just like the fact that like clearly
yeah,
they weren't imagining that they were going to be funny. And then
yeah,
another just 5 stars, very well done, as though
yeah,
as though the
yeah, man,
director and the actors
yeah,
are going to be reading the Amazon
yeah,
reviews and just say, yeah,
yeah.
well done, well done.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and also not many words. It's like, yeah, in homage to the film, I'm gonna do very limited dialogue to review this film.
So I
Yeah.
know we spoke about just now
Hmm.
the best costume and the sadly
Hmm.
that it won over over Warhorse.
Yes, Warhorse.
Well,
Yeah.
after doing a little bit more digging, I realized
Hmm.
that there used to be best costume design for
Yeah.
black and white and best costume design for films in color. For about
That
20 years,
ridiculous.
they actually split the two. And
Why?
mostly like the black and white movies would win kind of for
Yeah.
films that were like made at the time, and mostly
Yeah.
yeah, color films would win for like epic or fantasies and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
just bizarre that you would separate them out.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Not really.
almost the whole thing about this film, isn't it? That everyone's just trying to hold on to the fact that no, we still need to have awards for black and white films, and it's like, well, there's color now. Should we just have them as one? Do we have to separate them out?
Shouldn't it just
But
be a
yeah,
film? I mean, it obviously begs the question again because you bring up the sort of lead actor, lead actress. Do you need a Best
Yeah,
Actor, Best Actress award? Should there just be, the best
yeah.
performance?
I would say just one, yeah, and like maybe a runner-up. But then, sadly, I don't work for the Academy yet. I did think
It's-
the just talking about the costumes, the butler. What were your thoughts on his updated outfit when George slums it and he changes his outfit? What were your thoughts on that?
he's a man about town. He's trying to
Yeah,
get very much more into the 30s, shiny boots, and
yeah.
going into almost a skinny suit, which is nice.
I thought Nazi soldier. That's what came to my mind.
I mean, that was the style of the 30s.
Yeah, that was good though, and they did obviously there were specific things they use of the era as well, right? So obviously all the men pretty much all wear suits, and nearly all of the women always wear hats as well. So obviously you got specific things of that it's that era. So I guess that's down that path of obviously winning the Oscar, and obviously it's very noticeable the costumes, even though it's in black and white, you can tell they're up from that era, and they obviously look very very realistic of that, the time the film's supposed to be set. So not sure, still would have not given it to Warhorse, but we'll get past that and we'll move on.
I lament the world where everyone just wore hats. I still I
Oh,
feel like that would have
yeah.
just been a great time to just everyone wear hats.
Yeah, not for me. I barely wear hats. I could do it. I'd be like, no, this
And
is this is terrible.
we'll finish on as well that
Yeah.
I love that her phone number was zero
Mm.
zero five zero eight. Like she was the 508th person to
Yeah,
have a
have a
phone,
phone.
and they actually only thought that 10,000 people would have phone numbers, and so
Yeah.
that was where
Yeah.
they were going to cut it off. I thought it would have been better
Yeah.
if it was 00555. I thought that would have been a nice
Yeah.
a nice nod, but sadly wasn't to be the case.
Yeah, no, that is funny. I didn't even really notice that, but yeah, that's the difference of watching it like the second time round, right? Like and that like was saying. I mean, obviously it was a long time since you saw it, but that's a sign of a good film, right? If you can watch it and notice different things on the second time round, then that's great, right? It means you're still getting something out of it while you're still watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's why the 100 favorite list is a good one because it reminds you of the ones that when I watched this it had an impact on me as well as the ones that you've watched
Yeah,
1,000 times, and
yeah,
we'll get to them. So
yeah.
I think that's the artist, and then
Here
you're
we go.
surprised that
Yeah.
you liked it. I think that
Yep.
actually I would put it lower in the score, so it's a good start. And
There we
now
go.
next time out, I think another film that you wouldn't have seen in
Correct. I've not seen this either.
in uh, in
Yes.
in Juliet Naked, a
Yes.
rom-com or com-wom, depending on
Yeah.
how you say it. No one says com-wom, which is something that we've
No.
discussed. But also another kind of more contemporary film, the fourth most contemporary film on the list. So
Yeah.
I look forward to getting into that and
Yeah.
talking all things rom-com because I know it's a favorite genre of yours. So
Yep. I'm interestingly, I've just I don't mind rom-coms, but I've just seen Chris O'Dowd's in it and I hate him. So it's gonna be great.
well, that could be something for next time then.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, we'll get closing music as well and have to add in at some stage.